Welcome back to A Creator's Frequency. In the last episode, we talked about reality, and I gave you 4 ways to initiate a shift. 1, know what it is that you want and how would you feel having it. 2, find the contradictions. 3, neutralize to destabilize. And 4, take new actions towards your goal. If you want to listen to that episode, it's number 3. It's the one right before this one. However, if you're still struggling to find lasting change, you'll want to look at where your attention is. In this episode, we're going to talk about waking up and staying awake, because waking up is not the hard part. Staying awake is. So there are areas where you are more awake or aware in your life, but the ones that you're still struggling in are the ones that you're more asleep in, and they've become more normalized in your current 3D reality. You can't change what you won't see. You can't change what you're asleep in, which is identifying, which is what you've got to do actually, is identify where you are awake and where you're actually putting yourself back to sleep, going into that reality rut. What's hiding in the shadows or outside of your awareness is always a gem or a clue or a golden nugget. And when you start to view your life this way, things really start to shift and really in all areas of your life. So how do you expand your awareness to see what's in the darkness of your own mind and choose something different for yourself? How can you actually do this for yourself? Well, you have to be willing to see the junk so you can move it out. And you got to stop taking your junk personal or projecting it on to others. Really simple, right? You consciously wake yourself up by finding the junk triggers and becoming aware when you find yourself slipping back into the old thoughts or the old reality rut. What do you want, and what is keeping you from it? This statement has nothing to do with settling or even saying, well, whatever will be, or if it's meant to work out, it will. No, it's saying, I want this, and I know the only thing that's keeping me from it is me. It's hidden in your behaviors, your traits, your characteristics of the me who's asleep, who's still normalizing these things, this struggle actually. You're not actually changing you. You're realigning with the purest form of you that is already awake. You can't really see where your attention is in the you that's asleep until you open your awareness to the you that's awake. This allows you to see where you're blindsiding yourself. In Inner Spark's bonus module, I gave you a personal story of the first time I realized I woke up. It was during one of the most stressful and trying moments of my life, and it wasn't the first time. It followed a pivotal and significant realization I had made about my world a year before. With each waking up moment, I saw how I was choosing to live a life that wasn't designed by me. It was actually created by society, by family. And I really had no clue what awakening meant. I had no idea what to do with it. I didn't even know where it was leading me. So I went back to sleep. Looking back, I can see where I prolonged my journey, where I doubted and judged myself and others. I had to make a decision, set up wake-up reminders, and catch myself in the triggering moment to take back control of my life. So my life actually worked for me. It is my theory that we all, especially if you're listening to this podcast, that we all have these fleeting moments of waking up. However, sometimes it's like a 3-year-old placed in the driver's seat of a Lamborghini. Oftentimes, you're just not ready for it, and it feels really, really overwhelming. And just like a 3-year-old, I settled for the comforts of my security blankets and allowed the current reality to sing me a sweet lullaby back to sleep. Although it wasn't a sweet lullaby, though. It felt more like getting lost in an emotional roller coaster ride. The constant ups and downs, wanting to wake up again and not knowing why I couldn't hold that state. It's like winning the consciousness lottery, and then you're on this high for a little while, and then something happens and it triggers you, and then you blow it within a few days, and it leaves your head spinning, feeling like you just got hit with a Mack truck. Then you choose to go back to sleep, thinking that must be the answer because this shit is way too hard. Until it happens again, and you have to look at what's going on because, quite frankly, you are really tired of living in the in-between, the ups and the downs. And you have to have the courage to ask yourself meaningful questions and really getting in contact with who you really are, which is the purest form of you that is always advancing, always evolving, and always growing. For me, both of these awakening experiences amplified an inner split I felt within myself. One part of me wanted to follow a passion, and the other wanted to hold on to the comforts of reality. A personal cognitive dissonance is really, really uncomfortable. There's an internal battle going on inside, and you have no guidebook on how to manage it. So going back to sleep is not only natural, it's normal until you just can't ignore it or bury it anymore, and you decide to do something about it. Waking up requires your attention. So in addition to what I gave you in the last episode, you need to know where your attention is going and how to refocus it back to your passions. If you don't know what your passions are, that's okay. You'll find it on the way. You'll find them on the way. But you have to look for them, and you have to take intentional actions towards them. And this might mean doing things you wouldn't normally do, putting yourself in environments you normally wouldn't put yourself, having conversations with people you normally wouldn't talk to, and dropping any importance of the feelings you feel about it being, quote, good or bad. Your preconceived judgment holds you in the current reality. This is a refining moment for you. This is a refining moment for you. It's where you begin to take control of your thoughts. Thinking better thoughts starts with asking meaningful questions. When you're experiencing this inner split, most of the time, the old thoughts are programmed to widen the split, and it makes you feel like something's wrong. It's confusing and very uncomfortable. And the thoughts that generally go along with this confusion sound like this. What is wrong with me? Why is this so hard? Why do I feel so dissatisfied with myself? Why can't this be easier? Why can't my problems just disappear? And then the actions that accompany these thoughts look like searching for the answers outside of yourself, for someone who has the answers for you already. It makes you think that you're depressed. You feel depressed or you feel hopeless. And it feels like you're getting on this yo-yo diet of everyone else's strategy. These inner struggle questions, thoughts, and actions lull you back to sleep. They put you back in that reality rut. They distract you from discovering your passions because you're not using forward movement questions with intentional actions. You haven't identified where your attention is really going, so you can set a new intention to where you want to go. You're using inner questions that keep you stuck and circling the same problems. And this is why affirmations don't really work for most people. If you're 300 pounds and tell yourself you feel amazing and wonderful in your slim-toned, energetic body, internally and outwardly, you know this is a lie. And the cognitive argument gets louder and louder, and you lose focus on actually taking the actions to achieve the toned, slimmed body. Your attention isn't where you're going. It's where you've been. And so your intention flows where your attention has been placed. It's kind of confusing, I know, but if you want to set an intention, you have to know where your attention actually is. Society's programming is huge attention grabbers. It says to have anything meaningful or worthy, you must work hard. You must sacrifice. You must grind, push, bury your emotions, don't talk about it, and don't really expect to live a life where you actually feel satisfied because that will never happen. Society programs also say follow the rules. Don't make waves, and definitely don't upset the people, especially your family, around you by changing. Or society's program says, you must make everyone around you change so you can be happy. And this is all backwards. It's not that this advice is wrong. I mean, there's obviously times when following certain guidelines definitely helps you, but it's the wrong advice when the attention and the intention behind it isn't actually in alignment with where you want to go. And that's what you need to look at. Are you working diligently towards something that is meaningful and passionate for you? Or are you focused on pleasing others? Are you focused on your image and how you look and what society tells you need to have in your life? Your perceived view of what comfort actually is and what safety really is. You might say to yourself, well, I'll just feel better when, insert your desire, whatever that is. I'll just feel better when I have this, or when this happens for me in my life, or when I have this retirement plan finalized or whatever. That's never going to happen. What you are actually doing is sleepwalking and having fleeting moments of waking up, then going right back to sleep again. This is where your attention is really going and why it's lulling you back to sleep. Changing your attention is putting your focus on where you're going. Why are you doing what you're doing? Especially if it feels off in some way. What feels off about it? You've got to identify it. Is it coming from the asleep you, or is it coming from the awake you? What are the internal thoughts about it? And who do you think is going to judge you by following your passions? You got to know where you are right now. You got to know what's going on right now. You got to see your junk. You got to see what's really surrounding you. And this is your habits and your beliefs and your character and your traits. And you got to find the ones that work for you, and you got to put your attention on those. And sometimes You got to do things that you wouldn't normally do, and it feels uncomfortable because you're battling that inner split. Then you got to start identifying your habitual questions that continue to split the attention and shift them. So instead of asking yourself, what is wrong with me? Why not ask, what is right about this? Why is this working? Why has it felt easier to follow my passion and turn the volume down on society's programmings? How can I see where it's working more? How come things are working out more easily for me by making these attention adjustments? These are generic forward questions. You got to get really specific about what you want and start asking yourself forward questions. So a more specific question might be, where am I normalizing struggling? Because if you don't want to continue to struggle, but yet you're struggling, then where are you normalizing it? Where does society say it's normal for you to struggle? And here's the kicker. You got to listen to and listen for the answer before you go back to sleep. And I'm not talking about night-night bedtime. I'm talking about before you get triggered again and the trigger throws you back to a sleep state. In Power Play, I show you how to do this. And I also provide you a day and night reprogramming audio with these forward questions specifically geared towards finding your inner power. If you want to listen to the first module and the meditations, I'll leave a link below in the description. What are you doing? And why are you doing it? What are you doing? Are you doing something because your friends are doing it? Do I sound like a mom right there? Are you just doing this because your friends are doing it? What are you doing? What are you hoping to get from struggle? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Are you hoping to get something from struggle? Are you hoping to ease the struggle if you continue to struggle? See how backwards this is? If you're wanting to lose weight, where's your attention? Are you working out in desperation to lose the weight? Like killing yourself on the treadmill or doing things that you don't really enjoy just because you've got to lose that 20 pounds? Yo-yo dieting, throwing this in, that in, and not even really listening to what your body's saying. Okay, yeah, this works for us. Oh no, this doesn't work for us. Are you starving yourself? Or are you finding more ways to enjoy your body? Finding more ways to enjoy your body has never been mentioned in any pre-workout, in any workout video that I've ever watched, or any personal trainer I've ever talked to. How have you been enjoying your body? Let's talk about this before we actually work out. Where can you start to really enjoy your life and your body before we start working out? Well, that's odd. Nobody does that. You just gotta plow through working out like a bull in a china cabinet. Kill yourself, right? Asking yourself forward questions before you want to work out or even go for a walk might sound something like this. Why does it feel so good to be in my body? How come the weight seems to just melt off me? How come my clothes fit better? How come I can fit into my skinny jeans again? And why does my skin glow and radiate and look vibrant? What I teach you in Power Play is that you do kind of have to trick the critical thinking mind because it wants to answer your questions. So if you're continuing to ask yourself, what is wrong with me? It's going to be like, oh, she wants to know what's wrong with her, so we're just going to let her know. But if I ask my conscious thinking, or if I ask my critical mind, how come my clothes fit better? Then it's going to want to give me more circumstances and more situations to where my clothes actually fit better. What naturally happens when you refocus your attention before you even take action, it starts to direct your intention. The actions to achieve this new reality systematically follow. That's just how it is. You've been doing it all your life, you've just been doing it backwards. You are reprogramming your reality when you do it this way with the thoughts and the actions and the new beliefs that are actually serving you. You're actually putting your focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So where is your attention? Are you awake or do you go back to sleep? Are you in a waking dream? Are you actually sleeping, dreaming about being awake? Most people typically are. That's why you struggle. I mean, I don't know of too many people who can work out in their sleep, but you can work out when you're awake. That seems to be a lot more effective. You got to ask better questions for yourself, and you've got to start asking questions that are going to get you somewhere, that are going to get you in a balanced or a neutral state before you take the action. So just like the example I gave in a previous episode, your reality has a rut, and it will continually to go back into that rut until you consciously reprogram it to what you want. So you got to change your story. You have to change the narrative. You have to shift your perspective, and you have to use your current reality as an advantage to leverage the new reality by asking yourself questions that move you forward, not backwards. What is hiding in the shadows or outside of your awareness is always a gem, or a clue, or a golden nugget. And when you start to view life this way, your life shifts because you've chosen to see the advantage from where you are now and where you're leading yourself. You might view your shortcomings as a problem, but your higher self sees them as an opportunity.